hello everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just going to give it a little bit of like a minute or so just to allow some more participants to join in. All right, awesome. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you again for joining our Next Experience Academy. This is so exciting. This is our first kind of split off of our own academy. You may have seen us on previous academies for like the Platform Foundations Academy, where we did have some sessions. But this is the first academy fully dedicated to all topics Next Experience. We're going to have these academies. They're going to be monthly right now. So we'll have one every month and send out reminders. We'll have them through the end of 2022. And if we keep getting more topics, maybe we'll up the cadence from there. But just so you're aware, monthly, every month on Wednesday around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just keep a lookout for the invitations and the community post on our forum. I do want to mention just some housekeeping before we get started with the introductions. If you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A instead of the chat, and we'll just get to them throughout the session. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, and then we'll get to the other members of the team. My name is Ashley Snyder. I'm an outbound product manager for the Next Experience team. My focus areas are on Next Experience UI and configurable workspaces. I've been with ServiceNow for about 8 months and just really enjoying being on the team and working with Next Experience. And I'll go ahead and hand it off to you, Brad.
Hey everybody, my name's Brad Tilton, and I am also on the outbound product management team for Next Experience. My kind of specialty area, I guess, is UI Builder and Builder Experience. But yeah, we cover all of Next Experience. I'll just throw it to Amanda.
Hi everyone, thank you all so much for joining our first Next Experience Academy. My name is Amanda Joslin. I'm the Director of Outbound Product Management here at ServiceNow. I've been here almost 3 years. So really excited for this to bring you all this content, and we're looking forward to a really engaging session. So feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question live, but we're looking forward to hearing from all of you as well.
All right, thank you guys. We'll go ahead and get started. Let me get our session queued up. So Brad and I are going to be mainly leading this as far as slides. So we'll kind of be switching off here. And let me make sure you guys can see my screen. So this session is our kickoff session. It is kind of an overview session of Next Experience for those who may be new to it, as well as a roadmap, because we have done some previous Platform Academy sessions on what Next Experience is. We do have an activation one as well, so I do encourage you to kind of go back and look for those previous sessions that we've done. Just a safe harbor notice. So, a lot of this material, since it is a roadmap session, is going to be forward-looking. We do encourage you not to make any purchasing decisions based upon the material provided in this session. So like I mentioned, it's going to be an overview session. We're going to start with what Next Experience is. We're going to just touch base on some quick activation information. We're going to take a look at what we have currently as the San Diego release, and then introduce some new features for the upcoming Tokyo and Utah releases. We're going to wrap up the session on some great resources that we have for you as far as getting information on Next Experience. And then we'll have just a short demo and some time for Q&A. Like we mentioned, please ask questions throughout the sessions. We'll try to answer those, but we will have time allotted for Q&A at the end as well. Before we get started, we're just going to have a quick poll. We're just really gauging where everyone's at with this. So we'll just give a few moments for the poll.
All right, everybody should have the Zoom poll up. And here we go. We're getting some answers. Looks like we are kind of neck and neck between I've heard of Next Experience and/or UI Builder but not used it, and I've heard of Next Experience and/or UI Builder and have used it. So we're about half and half there, and only a couple of people had never heard of UI Builder.
Okay, that's good to hear that only a small amount of you haven't heard about it yet. Hopefully this is a great introduction for you guys.
All right. I'll end the poll here.
All right.
And just before you move on, there is a question about licensing. So I just want to address that off the bat because it's a good thing to start off with. We are product managers, so we are part of the team that develops the product. We are not familiar with licensing or how it's licensed or which is in which licenses. Those change quite frequently. So it's best to talk to your account team about that. Definitely take down notes. And we can follow up. UI Builder is part of the platform, so you do get that as part of the basic platform. However, there could be changes on, some of the advanced features we talk about today. So definitely follow up with your account team. It's the best course of action. But thank you, John, for that question. I think it was good for everyone to hear that off the bat.
Thank you. Cool. So we'll go ahead and get started with our next experience overview. If you haven't had a chance to really review any next experience information, we do have product documentation up. We're going to dive into some supported use cases for next experience and some information on the San Diego release of next experience. So I did want to kind of start out with some terminology on what next experience is. It is kind of a bunch of things all in one. We do have our next experience UI that we released in San Diego, which may be the first thing that kind of comes to mind when we talk about next experience. But it is actually kind of an umbrella of different terms. So first off, it is our tech stack that is built on top of our UI framework. It was previously called the Now Experience UI framework. If you see that in some documentation or literature, if you hear next experience UI framework or just UI framework, it is the same thing. And it is our JavaScript framework that is built on top of open source web standards, which really eliminates our dependencies on third-party frameworks such as AngularJS or Jelly, and does future-proof our user interfaces and products going forward. We've used this framework to create over 150 out-of-the-box components, and we're continuing to build more. And the UI framework can also, be used with our ServiceNow command line interface for you guys as customers to create your own components as well. We've hooked in the Now design system to provide a modern look and feel that can be applied to experiences all the way down to the component level. And our product experiences can be configured in UI Builder. So customers can use the workspaces that we're releasing, or they can create and configure their own application experiences, as well as using a drag and drop user interface and configuring different component attributes and events all within UI Builder. So you use UI Builder not only to configure the workspaces we release or the experiences that we release, but also if you're creating your own, if you're creating them from App Engine Studio, you'll use UI Builder to configure those as well. So while we're focusing on creating workspace experiences right now in San Diego, we don't plan on stopping there. It's not the only thing that we plan on doing with UI framework and next experience, but that is our current point in San Diego. And most of our products do have their own configurable workspace as of the San Diego release. And then finally, we've used this whole tech stack that I just mentioned to create the next experience UI. It is available in San Diego, and it is built off the same UI framework that is used for the rest of our experiences, and then the ones that you create too. So why next experience UI? So responding to customer feedback that our platform is very extensible. You can do a lot with it, but really just look outdated. We begin to invest heavily the last few releases to develop a robust, modern, and consumer-grade user interface that has a customizable look and feel. We've moved the application navigator sidebar to a new extensible top menu system to free up screen real estate, but you do have the option to pin menus as well if you're used to working with that sidebar experience. You can easily see where you're at and create new favorites using the contextual app pill. And the unified navigation header allows users to navigate back and forth between the classic environment, or what we previously called forms and lists, and workspace experiences within one browser tab. In addition to elevating the look and feel, we have introduced a dark mode for increased accessibility and have updated the styling on our classic environment lists and form. So prior to San Diego, our focus on workspaces was mainly around tier 1 and tier 2 fulfillers or agents, mainly working in areas such as CSM or ITSM. Our fulfiller and agent-based workspaces do provide agents and case managers, service desk professionals with the tools that they need to answer customer questions and resolve customer problems. They can see from a single view, like the full context of the case or the incident or record that they're working on. We've embedded AI-assisted recommendations, things like playbook experience, advanced work assignment, and agent assist, all within these workspaces to really give the agents tools they need to resolve issues fast. But we have expanded workspaces past fulfillers and agents. As of San Diego, we offer workspaces for areas such as cloud operations, hardware asset management, GRC-based processes such as risk compliance and audit management. We have workspaces for strategic portfolio management, such as the alignment planner workspace, project workspace, procurement specialist workspace, and as well as a brand new HR configurable workspace. So definitely encourage you to check out a workspace for a product that you're using. More than likely, as of the San Diego release, one exists for it. Brad, I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to you real quick as far as questions on UI Builder and Service Portal and the differences.
Thanks, Ashley. This is a big topic. We generally get lots of questions around, UI Builder, Service Portal, portals. What do I use when? So right now, UI Builder is really geared toward fulfiller experiences, and Service Portal is our tool for requester experiences. So, UI Builder, you can build workspaces. That's really where we're focused in terms of fulfillers. It's a good way to customize workspaces or generate your own workspaces using App Engine Studio. And then Service Portal is still our recommended tool for building requester experiences. The technologies are different. Eventually this will change. But this is kind of the lay of the land for the foreseeable future. So if you're making a decision right now on should I use UI Builder, should I use Service Portal, it's really that persona-based. Fulfiller is UI Builder, requester is Service Portal. And then there are some experiences in between that may not be like a tier 1 or tier 2 agent working on tasks, and it also may not be an end user with no training requesting something from the portal. And in those cases, if we can go to the next slide, we've got a little bit more of a breakdown here. Again, target audience on this one, workspaces versus enterprise portals. And then, starting in this fourth row here is really where you can kind of use this chart to make some decisions. UI Builder is not responsive by default like Service Portal is. So if I look at a UI Builder experience on my iPhone or Android phone, it's not going to automatically look nice like Service Portal does. It also doesn't currently support pixel perfect design. So in Service Portal, you basically have complete control over the widgets, and you can just drop style sheets in. UI Builder, the experiences are built a little differently to where it does let you reuse components a lot easier than widgets. But the other side of that is you can't just make it look however you want. So pixel perfect design, if that's what you need, that's still a Service Portal thing. We have really limited support for catalog, like anything outside of just using a record producer to create a record. I would recommend using Service Portal. And then currently we don't have support for ATF and UI Builder. And doing public pages, which are basically pages for unauthenticated users, is currently doable, but it's pretty difficult in UI Builder, whereas for Service Portal, it's kind of natively able to handle that. So because of these differences, that's one of the reasons that the personas are really important, because requesters generally need things to be responsive, publicly supported, things like that. And that's why Service Portal is still our answer for requester-based experiences.
Well, thank you, Brad. Yeah, definitely go ahead and screenshot these. We'll have an article up on our COE with this information as well. I think this is going to be really great information to have on hand, and something that a lot of our customers have just been asking for, kind of that decision tree on when to use both. So definitely really appreciate the information. Cool. So next we'll just get into some information on how to activate Next Experience. We do have a Platform Academy session, I believe it was in April, where we really went into depth on how to activate Next Experience, some considerations that you might have. And that session is on our forum. It is on our COE. So if you do want more in-depth information, check out that session. I'm just going to cover some basic steps to consider when activating Next Experience. So first off, before you activate Next Experience in sub-production, just read through the product documentation, see if there are supported and unsupported features. If you're a customer that is upgrading, you may need to remediate some client-side scripts. Depending upon your level of customization, we do have some guidance there on the product documentation. We don't have any hard recommendations for remediation. It really is dependent upon your instance and the customizations that have been done. We can offer some guidance and taking a look at any kind of UI scripts that modify elements such as the UI 16 header or application navigators. It's a great place to start. More than likely, these modifications will not work with Next Experience. But also check for any other scripts that may have things such as DOM manipulation. Those would be great places to start as well. I do want to mention any modifications made to the service portal are not impacted. The Next Experience UI does not modify the service portal. So if you do have those concerns, both of these technologies are decoupled. Definitely test your service portal in your upgrade testing, but Next Experience does not make any modifications to that. Also make sure that you pad in some training time for your admins and your users and any knowledge or training materials that need to be updated to reflect the new user interface. After that, you're pretty much ready to activate the Next Experience UI. And this is as easy as setting a system property to true. If you're a new or ZBoot customer, you'll already have Next Experience activated by default. And we're making it easier to activate Next Experience in Tokyo. We're just going to have like a one-click tool that pops up once you upgrade to San Diego or to Tokyo. And then we are working on a readiness checker tool that will check your instance for things such as if you're using Connect Chat, guided tours, and we'll have some other checks as well. And we'll be providing kind of some guidance and support materials in that readiness tool. And that will be in an upcoming store release. So we've laid a really great foundation for our customers to start using our workspaces, create their own experiences, and start using Next Experience UI. So what's next? We're going to start talking about our roadmap here. And we're going to start with some enhancements that we've made to the unified navigation in Tokyo. So the first one is really exciting. We are releasing what's called Sidebar in Tokyo. And this feature allows for agent-to-agent conversations to occur on records. So agents can collaborate on a record. It does replace kind of that direct Connect Chat feature on a record itself due to Connect Chat not being supported in Next Experience. Users will be able to view user presence within conversations, so you can see who's on that record, you can see who's chatting on that record, you can perform drag and drop file sharing, receive notifications, and they do have some other features here that are noted on the slide. So within unified navigation, you'll see a badge counter displaying any kind of incoming or unread messages. You can pin or unpin the discussion panel as you need, and you can have multiple discussions at once on a record if you need it. Again, I do want to mention this is for record-based conversations at the moment, so it won't apply to other areas such as visual task boards or other areas that Connect Chat extends to, but this may meet your requirements for replacing Connect Chat if you just want that record-to-record based communication. So definitely check this out in the Tokyo release. I do believe it will be a store application as well, and get familiar with it to see if it replaces that functionality that you need. The next feature I want to mention is for administrator configurable menus. This is also another really exciting feature. So this allows for administrators to now create and configure their own menus up in the unified navigation header. So as of San Diego, we have 4 out-of-the-box menus, all favorites, history, and workspaces. And now admins can create menus for users by role. So users may need to navigate to certain applications or modules, and now they don't have to use the all menu or create favorites to do this. You can create this menu for a certain role, and this user will get it as soon as they log in. And administrators can choose to only show this to certain roles or exclude certain roles. And this feature does support domain separation as well. All right, Brad, I'm going to hand it back over to you for some UI Builder enhancements.
All right. Yeah, so UI Builder, there are a few enhancements in Tokyo. This is one of the big ones that's mostly under the covers. You're not going to see a ton of results from this in Tokyo, but it's going to set things up longer term. But we came out with a new, we kind of re-architected some of our component technology to use presets and controllers is what we're calling them. And it lets components basically auto-configure themselves when you add them to the page. And so we saw that, it was taking a long time to build out your own record page. If you wanted to build out a record page that's slightly different than our template, it was a significant amount of time to build something out that you do the same way every time. So what we did with this record page template was we built it out on these presets and controllers. And now when you add one of our form components to a page, it basically auto configures itself a little bit, and it uses controllers to fetch data. So it'll automatically add basically a data resource for you, and then map the results from the data resource to the right inputs on the component. And so that was something that used to take a while, and you had to kind of figure out where in the data return from your data resource you have to map to the right place on the components. So the form components are what we started with on the record page. And eventually we're going to uplift a lot of our components with this newer technology. So that's probably the biggest thing in Tokyo, although you may not see a lot of results from it right away outside of the record page template.
I do believe we have some other enhancements too, but I think, Brad, we're going to have an upcoming session on UI Builder. So I guess everyone will have to wait until then for the upcoming roadmap on that. So I'll go ahead and move on to a feature that is slated for an upcoming release. It's Branding Manager. So if you're on San Diego, if you've used Next Experience UI, you may have played around with theming or explored theming a little bit. We did release a powerful new theming engine with Next Experience, where you as customers can theme the Next Experience UI. You can theme experiences, and you can theme all the way down to like the component level using UI Builder. Right now, as of the San Diego release, customers do have to input CSS variables in a JSON format manually for a theme. We do have some Center of Excellence documentation, and I'll get to the Center of Excellence in just a moment, that does assist with this. We have documentation on how to create your first theme, how to apply a theme to different instances. So if you're used to doing, a theme for production versus sub-production, to really follow that best practice on where you're at, we have information on that. And even some articles on like how to convert UI 16 themes over. I do want to mention one thing, that if you do have Next Experience enabled, that the theme will also apply to any configurable workspaces that you may have, because they are wrapped within that unified navigation header. There's not a way to theme individual workspaces at the moment with Next Experience enabled, but this is something that we're looking into on our roadmap. So we are releasing Branding Manager in an upcoming release. It is going to be a GUI interface that allows you to manage, edit, and implement themes in an easy, efficient, and upgrade-safe way, just to make it really easy to reflect your company's branding. Branding Manager is going to walk you through generating a theme with just a few branding colors. It will display a theme preview, so you can actually take a look at the theme before applying it to any instance and see if it's what you like. Once you've created a theme, you can go in and use Branding Manager to go and fine tune the theme down to different CSS variables if you need. So let's say you want to change a certain thing here or a certain thing there, you can do that all within Branding Manager. So be on the lookout for that in an upcoming release. I know we'll have more information about it, but it is really exciting as far as being able to not only theme Next Experience UI, but we're hoping to really make this a tool for a lot of theming needs across the instance as well. And we'll go ahead and wrap up just a few more product enhancements that we have. So we are continuing to invest in what we've currently built for Next Experience. So a few enhancements to note for Tokyo. We've made some performance enhancements to configurable workspace lists that have really large data sets, so that loading time is reduced and list timeouts do not occur. So if you are a customer that has a large data set, like 1 million plus records, you may have seen timeouts in the past or slow loading times. We've prevented this with the Tokyo release, so definitely go back and revisit that there if you've had those issues. We've had productivity enhancements in Workspaces, such as user presence, which is a big one. So I know we had that in UI 16 in the classic environment, but now we do have it in our workspace forms as well, so you can see who else is on the record, and different right-click actions, such as jumping to different form sections, personalizing the form, refreshing it, and all the actions such as copying URLs and sysids that you're used to. We've also added attachment sorting as well, so you can sort attachments from newest to oldest or vice versa on that form. And then just a few things to the email client. We have in compact mode and full mode in the email client composer, as well as adding a few more configurations to the email sidebar. These are just a few to note. We do have more enhancements coming out, and we will have that information on our Center of Excellence once Tokyo GA is available. Cool. So like I mentioned, a lot of our content is on the community. Our Center of Excellence site is a great place to look for migration guidance, best practices, new release information, training resources, and more. I have a QR code for it right here, and we have a short link right above the header up here if you want to go to it. And this Center of Excellence site is located on our Next Experience forum on the community, which is another great resource for you to subscribe to or bookmark. It's the same as our other community forums where you can ask questions and get answers to your Next Experience questions. Cool. So I'm just going to drop into a quick demo, and then we'll get back to another poll and Q&A. So I did want to show off the admin configured menus that we have in Tokyo. You may notice I'm logged in as the admin right here, and by default, I already have a new menu called admin, where I have a link to this landing page here and something called IT adoption journeys. I'm not going to go too deep into what this is for this demo. There is a new product called Admin Center that we have product documentation on. So I do encourage you to check out that documentation on what Admin Center is and what it can do for you. But I'm going to show you guys how to create your own admin configured menus. So if you go over to the application navigator and just type in unified, underneath this Now Experience Framework menu, you'll see something called Unified Navigation Configuration. And this is where you can go in and modify those menus. Cannot modify the out of the box menus. We do have ACLs on those, but you can come in here and create your own or add the ones that you create. So for this example, I'm just going to do like a product owner who may need some Agile modules, just to show you how you can control this by role. So I'm just going to give this a name. I'll give it an order of 6. I'll go ahead and activate it. And I'm going to give it Scrum user role. And also, I'm an admin. I do not want to see everyone's menus, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it from myself so my unified navigation doesn't get cluttered. One thing to note, you probably will not see this until there are some unified navigation menu items added. So we do have to have some applications or modules present for this to work. You can right now switch between an application or a module. I'm just going to set up some basic modules for us. So we'll do the Agile board, and I'll just set that order of 1. And I'll do 2 more. We're just going to do epics and stories. Oh, I'm underneath application. All right, let me switch to modules. Cool. Okay, great. So we have our menu set up. I'm an admin. I don't see it because I've excluded myself. Let me just double check this and make sure it is for the correct role. So I'm going to impersonate John Jason first. He's a CSM user. He should not have access to this. Great. I do not see a product owner menu up here for him. So I can tell that that role cannot see it, which tells me that my role specification is working. So now I'm going to impersonate Alyssa Chenoy. She does have the Scrum user role. Perfect. So you can see as soon as I log in as Alyssa, I do have that product owner module or menu here. I do have the same ability to filter through and pin it to the sidebar if I want. And the modules that I set up are here. So I can just jump to those easily. This might take just a moment to load because it's the Agile board, but as you can see, you can go back and forth between your different modules. So this is a really cool feature, if you're onboarding different like process users, in the past, you may have had to go in and tell them what to favorite, or they may have needed to favorite the things that they need the most. You may have gone in and created a dashboard that has this stuff for them, or just something kind of onboarding these different product roles is more of a manual process. And with these new admin configured menus, you can just go ahead and set up the things that different roles need right for them. So they have everything they need at their fingertips right when they log in. And they don't miss anything by not accidentally favoriting it. Or not knowing that it's there. This is just one really, really simple example that you guys can kind of see all the different things that you can do with these menus. I'll go ahead and get back to our slideshow here. I think we have another poll, Brad. I'll let you go ahead and launch it while I'm sharing the screen here.
All right, it's launched.
So this poll is just the different kind of topics that you want to see in our upcoming Academy sessions. Perfect. We got a lot of great input coming in. So it looks like UI Builder is pretty popular. I know we definitely have a lot of questions on things such as data resources. That you guys are just really interested in going more in depth on. Looks like how to configure different workspaces is the runner up there. Awesome. So we will definitely gather all this information and take it into account for future sessions for the Academy, and even like, COE or Center of Excellence documentation as well. So we want to know what you guys want more information on so we can get it out to you. I'll go ahead and end this poll. I think we got a lot of really great answers here. Thank you. So now I think we'll go ahead and just move on to Q&A. So I see we got some questions coming in. So we do have a good question here as far as, do you have to have a workspace to enable Next Experience? Is this mandatory? Before you turn Next Experience on, do you have to have it? You don't. You don't have to have a workspace to turn Next Experience on. We encourage you to start using workspaces when you turn Next Experience on. but you do not have to go through and implement a workspace to upgrade San Diego. You don't have to implement one to turn Next Experience on, but really to get the full value out of the unified navigation header, you do want to start moving, like I said, those tier 1, tier 2 fulfillers and agents, or those process users over to a workspace so they can begin using those customized experiences, but still are able to get to what they need in the classic environment by using unified navigation.
And then there was another one I wanted to hit on. Oh, somebody has an enhancement request around filtering. Anytime you have an enhancement request, you should go put that in the idea portal. So if you go to the community.servicenow.com and click idea portal, you should put that in. But that is also something that we have heard in terms of filtering in the all navigator and popping favorites up to the top in that. So that's definitely a strong piece of feedback that our product teams have heard. So we answered some of these live. Do we have a
answered live that we want to call out here?
Yeah, so one of them, do you have a script checker that would highlight UI scripts that are broken by Next Experience? So we don't have that. I would say any global UI script you should examine and test and make sure it works. Just because there's like, how do you define broken or not from like a programmatic perspective? We kind of discussed when we were planning the checker, you know, what we would do there. And so right now we're only kind of just surfacing, yes, you have global UI scripts and you need to check those. What else do we have here? How would you set up different workspaces for different roles and groups? I can
go ahead.
You want to? So my take on this would be, so for workspaces, we generally have, you know, we've got service operations workspace for tier 1 IT agents. We've got CSM configurable workspaces. So those agents, you know, should be using those workspaces, and then individual pages in those workspaces can have variants. And so I would look into setting up page variants. I would try to keep, you know, your number of workspaces smaller. So don't try to set up a new workspace for every, you know, every different type of person if they're kind of doing similar things. But yeah.
Yeah, I want to mention too, if you're using App Engine Studio to set up workspaces, during that whole wizard process, you define the roles that have access to your workspaces. And if you need to, you know, add more roles after the fact, there are ACLs that you can go in and modify to add those roles as well.
We had another question around documentation. There is documentation on our developer site for client scripting. So the you know, the client scripting you can do within UIB is documented for the most part. There you know, some things that are not documented because we always have some stuff that's not documented.
You want to answer this one live. Do you need to use App Engine Studio to create a workspace? No, you do not need to use it. I'm going to put an asterisk next to that. You can create a workspace in either Studio or by going through the modules. Be aware on this method, you will get the workspace shell. So you get the header and the sidebar, but you will have to configure all the different pages that go into what a workspace is yourself. We do have page templates that you can use to do that. App Engine Studio makes this a really quick process by basically providing all that for you. App Engine Studio does come with its own licensing, so please, you know, speak to your account reps. But if you're looking to create a workspace experience for an app in 5 minutes, that would be the way to go as far as using App Engine Studio.
All right. I am adding a couple of links to some documentation, answering one of the questions here. Let's see what else we have. Some good topic suggestions.
I'm just answering the one about using the portal app shell for the request.
I was going to say, maybe we should answer that live. We got quite a few questions about portal. So do you want to answer that one live, and then we can also just reiterate portal?
what's the question? I don't see it.
So, well, I can take it. So the portal app shell that you see in AES, that's a very specific department level portal. So it is a portal that we've experimented putting on the new platform, but it is not full featured. For instance, you can search, but you cannot browse. The catalog is very limited. So we really think that is a good use case if you have a very like department level intranet where you're just going to search and respond back with some catalog items, or cards. So that is not a full featured portal. It is only available through UIB and AES, but it is a very specific limited version portal. As mentioned previously, we're currently looking at our portal plans. Nothing will be released before our Vancouver release. And that will probably be like a V1 or an experiment to see how we do this. And then there is really currently no roadmap as of today to fully re-platform portal onto this next experience. We're still evaluating that and doing some testing now. So utilize the portal app shell as an experiment, very limited features. Make sure you're aware of what features are and are not available there. And then the utilize service portal or employee service center is the true portal right now as the enterprise portal. And that's
and I would add it's really more of a limitation issue, not a like, the portal app shell is not going to blow up on you or anything. It's just really limited in what it does and how you can configure the menus and everything. All right, couple of good topic suggestions in here. Will UI Builder pages support web sockets for real-time data? I don't know. I haven't seen anything on the roadmap for that.
With Bootstrap, that's another question.
What was the other one?
Will UI Builder support Bootstrap?
It does not currently support Bootstrap, which is part of that. It's not responsive to the experiences right now. We are looking at how we would make it responsive. I don't know that it'll be Bootstrap. It might be some other responsive technology, or we may build our own. I'm not sure. But right now, it does not support Bootstrap. Also on the workspaces, I mentioned trying to manage your workspace sprawl. That's just more of like, you probably don't want to create 40 workspaces because they're all managed individually. And so you probably don't want to be managing that many workspaces. So there's not a limit. It's really more about think about maintenance and testing and all of those things as you're moving forward. I think part of our near-term goals for UI Builder are, making a little bit easier to use up front and also kind of reusable things. And so, just kind of be thinking about that. You really want to keep the number of pages and workspaces smaller, because when we do come out with new things, then you have to up-level those pages and experiences.
And I think since you all have heard where we're taking this, especially in Tokyo, since Tokyo just went early access, if you are planning to create workspaces from scratch without extending one of our licensed products, please utilize Tokyo to do so. It will save you a lot of engineering and coding having to do that. There is Ashley, I see you're answering it. There is a question about utilizing Next Experience components on Service Portal. That was an experiment we were working with, and actually our AI search is a macro component written in Next Experience that we wrapped in Angular and exposed in Service Portal. So we have done it ourselves. We were evaluating releasing that publicly, that technology. We have actually stopped that experiment. It does not work as well as we thought. So I'm not familiar with the blog post you're talking about. We don't recommend it. So it's probably some type of hack that one of our lovely developers did. We know everyone's so excited about that, but we don't recommend that.
I did want to go back to that workspace question real quick too, before we get too far away from it. This is where the concept of variants and audiences is really going to come into play. Like you wouldn't want to create like a manager workspace versus an agent workspace. You could actually use audiences and variants to show different pages to different personas all within the same workspace. So utilize that heavily instead of just creating a whole different workspace for a persona. On your sidebar, add like common elements that all users could use. But then you can get really specific with those variants and audiences as far as what you want to show on the page. You can even use the concept of viewports. We have a viewport component to where you could show, it's basically a page within a page, and that uses audience and variants as well. So you can really show different kind of pages and experiences to different roles all within one workspace. So you don't need to have multiple workspaces. Will Agent Workspace be discontinued soon in favor of Next Experience Workspaces? It is on the roadmap. We do suggest if you are looking into using Agent Workspace and you're on San Diego to look at our configurable workspaces instead. If you're on an Agent Workspace right now, begin your migration strategy and have plans to migrate off. We don't have any release specifics on when, but there are plans to sunset Agent Workspace in the future. Just check out on any other questions that we may have. So it looks like we have a pretty in-depth question on like switching pages based upon different audiences and multiple variants. I'm going to take that one offline, Alex. That is more of kind of a technical one and more of a technical use case. So if we cannot answer your question here, go back to this session on our COE, because I will be posting comments to questions that we had to parking lot here. So just check back to that to see if your question had been answered, and I'll mention you if you're on the community so you get an alert about it as well.
I would add, if you have additional questions, we have posted the link to the Next Experience subforum. And I know Ashley and I both are subscribed to that community, and we do try to make it a point to at least address each of the questions that come in.
I am as well.
There's a lot
I'm
of
not as prolific as
Amanda.
I'm there. I'm just not as prolific or quick to answer questions as both of them are. The true experts will get back to you.
And we want questions. We track, what questions people are asking us on the community, on S&Dev Slack, and customer meetings. We're tracking all of these things, and that really drives what type of enablement content we're prioritizing, which we know there's a lot of enablement content for us to create around both Next Experience and UI Builder.
We're almost to the top of the hour here. I guess we'll go ahead and close it down. Looks like the questions have stopped coming in. If you sent me your information or put it in the chat here for the adoption program, I will reach out to you shortly on just setting up a meeting to get your feedback. So be on the lookout for next month's session. I don't remember the exact date. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Brad, do you know? I probably should have had that up before starting this.
I think it'll be I think we decided we're going to do third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
So whatever that works out to.
August 17th. So we are planning on some UI Builder stuff. And then after that, what's new in Tokyo. And then we are gathering folks and different topics for future sessions. So yep, August 17th, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. You can register for all the sessions at once if you'd like with the registration link. And we will be promoting them on LinkedIn, in the Slack channel, and other social media. All right, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate this, for attending our first Next Experience Academy. And we look forward to speaking with you guys again in the future on different academies. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.